including our body and what is not good for us. And this is a personal thing, it's not general. So we need to understand that our health is controlled by intestinal functionality, and this is affecting fertility because this is affecting our health. So diarrhea, constipation, bloating, those means that our body is in alert, it's in alarm, trying to let us know that something is not going well.
I like how you just phrased that, where something, it's an alert. Something is telling us that something's off. And we often look at, I think, our infertility struggles of I'm not getting pregnant as the alert, when really there's probably been some alerts leading up to the inability to have a baby without assistance. And I've heard from some women that they've been constipated since they were a child. I can't even imagine that. And they just sort of normalized all that suffering.
But what also happened to us very often, more often than I thought, is that women really don't believe that there is a constipation problem issue in their lives after they get into our study and restoration treatment. And then after that, they said, okay, it was that this was not constipation. I thought this was normal life, but now I understand that wasn't. So yeah, we can talk about constipation in different ways, but some of our women in the audience will not consider that they are having constipation issue, but they probably have. So they can be aware that they are sometimes bloating, but after we recognize a microbiome issue, I promise your intestinal rhythm will be totally normal and much better than that.
Amazing. So when Microgenesis has looked at a cohort of very difficult patients, those who have had failed IVF cycles 4 times, and what I understand from the study that you did in the past is you looked at them and there were some consistencies in something called leaky gut. Right. And as you were explaining it, if you have leaky gut, then your nutrients aren't really getting everywhere in your body that you need them to get to.
Yeah, let me explain this in a very easy way. According to our test, we can recognize 2 main scenarios. One, when we have a very clear condition of leaky gut, that means that you can get chronic anemia, you can need to take a lot of prenatal supplement because you are feeling not very strong, or you are needing vitamin D supplementation chronically, and some conditions that they are demonstrating that your permeability is increased. So some components from the food will cross the barrier, and they are not supposed to cross the barrier, and they will produce a lot of consequences in your immune response. But at the same time, these components will be competing with micronutrients such as iron, vitamin D precursor, or any other micronutrient, which is very important for our health and also for our fertility wellness. So yeah, this is one possibility, one scenario. On the other, and on the opposite side, we can have a totally different fertility biome, and we can have a chronic inflammation on the intestinal barrier, but not a leaky gut condition at all.
I see. Okay.
In time, this chronic inflammation will damage the intestinal barrier, and it will be progressively not working properly, and it can get into a leaky gut condition in the future. But the fertility biome disbalance is totally different.
I see. So why can't everyone just eat an anti-inflammatory diet and solve their inflammation problem?
That is because an anti-inflammatory diet is not enough to fix the problem. First of all, we need to understand that a leaky gut condition is associated with a microbiome dysbalance. That means that the microorganism that should be educating our intestinal barrier functionality and our very first immune response against diseases are not working properly, some key microorganisms are missing, others overgrowth in response. So our intestinal barrier increased the permeability because of a microbiome dysbalance. So a dietary change will not fix the problem at all. We need to recognize what microorganisms are missing, and we need to provide specific strains of probiotics. And in order to allow these probiotics, these bacteria, to grow in our gut, we need to select a specific food components because bacteria need foods to grow. So in order to include these probiotics into our microbiome, we need to associate this customized probiotic supplementation according the missing key organism we found through our test with a specific food selection. Not only for that, but also to avoid other microorganisms to grow because we are not selecting food properly. And that's nothing to do with an anti-inflammatory diet, because an anti-inflammatory diet could apply for both scenarios I mentioned, and those scenarios are totally different.
And not personalized to your individual microbiome, right? Exactly. So the thing that you all do that's so impressive is you do such specific testing so that you give me a report that's almost like getting a 23andMe report, but for your gut, right? For your gut, you tell me exactly what's going on, what I have overgrowth on, what I don't have enough of. And it doesn't stop there, because then you also tell me kind of the impact of that issue on my vaginal uterine fertility potential. And then you go to restore it. So, you know, it's sort of shocking that everyone I know has been on a generalized probiotic for a very long time, but that generalized probiotic, as you explained it, we're not meant to take probiotics every single day, because then it creates an imbalance even of good bacteria, right?
Right.
So the quote unquote good bacteria can become bad if it's in excess.
Yeah, exactly. We need to select who are the ones that we need, but also we need to educate consumers that this is not a forever treatment. We established that the best time to have very good results on fertility potential is 75 days, between 60 and 90 days of treatment, not more than 90 days, right?
Amazing. Yeah. So 75 days, you get a very customized report. And then for 75 days, you stick to the diet plan that you recommend, the custom probiotic blend, plus supplements, some nutraceuticals to heal everything that's going on. What I noticed, Gabby, the very first week really that I was even doing the diet is I was going to the bathroom a heck of a lot more, and like a really healthy way. And I also noticed my energy definitely increased. My skin was kind of glowing. Right now it's glowing because it's very hot in northern Idaho. So apologies everyone for all my sweatiness on the lives the last few weeks. And I noticed sort of like a clarity of thought. So even just beginning the program before I felt super healed, the other thing that I noticed too is that I wasn't retaining any water. None. Yeah, it's like I dropped 5 pounds of water like that.
Yeah, exactly. And not only the water you used to drink, but also the water which is included in your vegetable selection. So,
right.
Minerals.
So my diet that I was recommended, I was very scared at first when I saw 10 servings of vegetables per day. And I was like, how am I going to do that? And now I love it. And I can't imagine eating any other way. I have 7 vegetables for breakfast with my eggs. And then I have a huge salad at lunch with some salmon on top. But sometimes I think any change can be a little intimidating. So how do you guys support people, through that change process?
Yeah, this is very important for us. We want to help our customers to be very compliant with the new style of food selection, at least for 75 days. But after that, maybe they want to keep going with the food selection forever. And it's very healthy to do that. Oh, I'm sorry. This is because I was not moving. That's why we are going to send different questionnaires. It's a very easy way and very fast multiple choice questionnaire containing information which is very important for us to recognize if they are compliant with the diet or not. Mm-hmm. And if we recognize an alert on that, we will contact them and we will offer a consultation online. Great. To get into the problem. Is this diet friendly for you? Are you following this correctly? Are you very restrictive on calories because you are not, you are avoiding more than selecting? That type of situation, we will help not only us, but also our nutritionist team, sorry.
Yeah, and you're working with your nutritionist to produce like an ebook of recipes per diet too, right? To help people kind of jumpstart and get prepared and ready. It's funny. One of the women that went in your program told me that she didn't realize how much time eating healthier saved her when it came to food prep. Isn't that interesting? I think she was overwhelmed with the idea that, oh, this is going to be so time intensive. And actually it was the opposite. And then she had so much energy that she and her husband were doing a lot more at night, like taking longer walks and really enjoying each other, rather because they were eating these like super heavy dinners and feeling so tired after dinner that they were then just turning on the TV and being couch potatoes. So, when you have that much more energy, you tend to want to use it, right?
Right, exactly. And this is a good sign for us.
Yes, that's a great sign for sure. So let's really break down the testing modality first, because those of us who have been trying to conceive or have struggled for a long time often feel like we've tested everything and nobody can figure out what's going on, or maybe we've tested everything and we know exactly what's going on and we know that we have PCOS or endometriosis or another infertility leading condition. But that your testing modality is so specific and it's so incredibly sophisticated. So break down for us first, this 3-part test that people could expect so that you can truly identify exactly what's going on in their microbiome as it relates to their fertility potential.
This is sophisticated because we based this test in 15 years of research working on more than 3,000 unexplained infertile women. When I said unexplained, I said that they fail at least 4 in vitro fertilization procedures. They spend in average 10 years seeking for pregnancy. Sorry again. Okay. That's why this is so sophisticated, because we have hard science behind, but also because we are not using just one marker, not 2, but multiple markers. And when you are using multiple markers, biomarkers, you can get your result very personalized. Right. It's not personal medicine because we only found 64 different profiles out of our test, and probably in the nature there is much more, so we will continue looking for that. But it's a precision medicine, right?
So it's amazing. Let me actually pause there for a moment and kind of break that down for those who are just joining, is that we're talking about the microbiome as it relates to your fertility potential. And Gabby and her co-founder August, through Microgenesis, spent 15 years researching women, looking for the source of why fertility potential was being affected by gut health. And what they saw out of 3,000 women that they studied was that there's 64 different types of microbiomes, all with one commonality: women unable to get pregnant on their own. Right? So everybody had already met the definition of infertility, which I hate the definition because I think that it's not very useful, because it's time-based, right? Unable to conceive within 12 months if under age 35, unable to conceive without help for 6 months if over 35. And I think that that's just a not useful definition of a disease at all. And what you have found is something that there's consistency, but 64 is a lot, 64 different types. And that also kind of brings up the point of why we can't just go on an anti-inflammatory diet or go on a fertile diet, because most of us are probably walking around with something off with our gut. And you talk about it in clinical terms, right, as dysbiosis, but it really just means an imbalance in there, whether you have too much yeast, too much lactobacillus bacteria that's in every single probiotic over the counter. And it's like the most common bacteria in fermented foods too, right, Gabby? I think that's the one that yeah. And so no wonder I had an overgrowth of that. And it could be other disbalances, right? And so that alone, I think, is so huge. And then you take 3 samples at home, which is so helpful, because I think we're so sick of being in the car and going to appointments, and it seems like endless doctor visits. But you do a blood spot sample at home, you do the saliva spit kit, and then you do a vaginal swab. So what do those 3 things tell us? Because it's you are getting information from each type of sample and then analyzing it all together, right? So can you walk us through one by one? What first are you looking at in the blood sample? What are you looking in the vaginal swab? And what are you looking in the saliva sample?
Sure. On the vaginal sample, we are looking for functional markers of the microbiome dysbalance, the gut microbiome dysbalance. And you can ask me, Gabby, why are you looking for a vaginal sample, if you are trying to find gut microbiome? This is because we are not looking for the bacteria. All microbiome companies are offering testing based on the DNA of bacteria. We are not looking for the DNA of bacteria. We are nailing the DNA of bacteria, the presence or the absence of a specific bacteria, into a clinical marker. This marker is controlling your genetic expression, so it's the responsible to do the clinical impact according to the microbiome dysbalance. So
let me make sure I understand this. You're looking at what is exactly comprising my gut health, but you have to look at the vaginal swab to see the impact of that on my reproductive system.
On the reproductive tract, exactly. Okay. Because these markers are produced by cells on the intestinal barrier against a specific microorganism, and they spread out all of your body. So we want to look for them in the vaginal, through the vaginal swab, because we want to be sure they are affecting the reproductive tract.
So do you find all the bacteria and yeast and all the other things just from the saliva sample? So does that give you the the actual gut profile itself that says, here's what's in your gut today?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. The saliva is, we are looking for a very important specific marker that is the translation between the microbiome and your immune response. How are you able to respond to not your microbiome, but pathogens, but bad bacteria, not the good ones, right? Okay. So microbiome dysbiosis can create a gut condition that affects your ability to discriminate between a good one and a bad one. So you can get into a chronic infection. A chronic infection will also create an inflammatory chronic condition that affects fertility potential.
So chronic UTIs for instance, or chronic yeast infections. And then what we end up doing is taking too many antibiotics, which further imbalances our gut health, right? Because it wipes out all the good bacteria. Likewise, probably even, if you're taking an antifungal orally for chronic yeast infections, I'm imagining the antifungal is also wiping out good things that you need in your gut. And then if you're not doing anything to restore that balance, and it has to be the balance that you individually need, then I feel like we're just a hamster on a wheel, never getting off the track of a problem. And so you might recover for a little bit and then have another issue.
This is the situation for most of our women. They get into a chronic condition, and of course they will need to treat them with antibiotics or with antifungal, but if we not fix the missing key microorganisms that are controlling the expression of this marker that is controlling the recognition between the good one and the bad ones, we will continue always like this, and we will reach a point when antibiotics or antifungals are not efficient enough to control this.
Right.
So we want to know the real problem and fix it.
Yeah, that's the bottom line of everything. Like, we want to know the real problem and fix it. And I think there's so many things going on with our body that we're dismissing as not part of our fertility potential problem. Right. So there's a lot of people thinking like, I don't have fertility potential, I need to go down the IVF path. You're saying, no, we all have fertility potential. There are certain things that the gut has nothing to do with, like if you have damage to your tubes, or if you have scar tissue. There are things that the gut has nothing to do with. But when it comes to fertility potential, what I'm hearing from you is you might have constipation and not even know that it's related to something going on with your microbiome in your gut. Or you might even have, I had chronic, it wasn't even an ear infection, but I had chronic congestion in one ear. And it was on the diet, and all of a sudden it started opening up, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that was even part of this, because you just don't know where it's going to show up sometimes. Or maybe even like dry eyes. I feel like my eyes are less dry because I'm eating so many darn vegetables, Gabby.
and the good things about this is that all microbiome is connected, is communicating through these markers. That's why when you fix your gut microbiome, it also fixes your any other microbiome, skin, reproductive tract, respiratory tract, reproductive tract. So all is connected, right?
Right.
Through
I had that skin condition. I had keratosis since I hit puberty, and that disappeared on your program.
That's why other immune conditions, chronic conditions such as psoriasis is now being studied to treat through gut health.
Gut health. Yeah. I mean, and why is this not the number one thing that we think about looking at when, people are struggling to conceive? I mean, granted, I understand that, and Dr. Sherry will be on in a couple weeks to help us address the OBGYN side, but they have so many things in front of them. I imagine they don't have time sometimes, right? But, they're dealing with people who are trying to lose weight, and it might not be in the healthiest way possible. They're dealing with people who've got these chronic infections, and they only have so many tools in their tool set, right? Well, but it feels like this should be the number one thing on top of mind when people are struggling to have a baby on their own. Is look at the gut.
Exactly.
But other research has lagged behind yours. So this functional microbiome is the thing that's really unique. And also you have patents on biomarkers that you discovered.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, exactly. But we will also continue working on new research lines. We want to help not only our women, but also the entire family in the future. We want to know about their microbiome in their partners, how it's affecting the health between each other, because microbiome can communicate. But not only all our microbiome is connected, but my microbiome is connected with my partner and is affecting his or her health. And the same for our kids. So we want to prevent early onset diseases like dermatitis or
chronic ear infections. So many kids have, chronic autism. Sure. I mean, my son has been getting, now that the world is reopening, he's been getting viruses every 12 weeks, like clockwork. And I just know that I have to help him heal his gut. And, you know, bless his heart, Gabby, he's seen me do your program for 75 days. And now the meal plan, the way that I eat is permanent as my permanent lifestyle. And he decided, he said, well, I don't think I need 7 vegetables in the morning with breakfast, but maybe 4 since I'm a kid. And so bless his heart, this morning, he tried 4 different types of vegetables with an egg. I did put cheese on it, Gabby, because he is still a kid. I don't eat the cheese, but I did put cheese. And I just love that he gets it. You know, he understands like, hey, mama doesn't get sick like me every 12 weeks. She eats this way. Maybe I need to do what she's doing and focus on my gut.
Yeah, this is not also an education program, but we already have the experience. We are very lucky to have the experience seeing our babies growing, because we started this project 3 years ago. So we have infants right now. So, and we can tell how is this affecting baby health.
That's amazing.
And this is connected because our microbiome will be the first microbiome of our babies. So we need to fix it before we get pregnant, not after.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. You know, I always thought my son ended up having cavities. I never had cavities as a child. Neither side of his DNA had cavities. And my son, all of a sudden, he had like rapid onset of decay. And I said at the time, I said, this has to be epigenetic, because his genetics were perfectly set up for good teeth. His diet, even up until, you know, it was actually pristine for healthy teeth. But there was something epigenetic. And I believe it started with my microbiome when he was in utero. I think it was epigenetic when I was growing him in my uterus. And all that, you know, all the chemo and all the medicine that I'd been on for, you know, years. I had even been hospitalized for, you know, 4 days one time with gut issues, severe pain, and, you know, chronic diarrhea after going through chemo treatment and all these antibiotics and all these drugs that they had me on to save my life, which I'm very grateful for, but it wreaked havoc on my microbiome.
Yeah, that's exactly what you are bringing me the possibility to talk about something which is very important. I know the keywords for today is bloating and diarrhea and constipation, but even if you are follow a very healthy diet, organic, vegan, everything, you can still have a microbiome issue. And this is not because we are doing something wrong. This is because this is connected with your mother microbiome.
Right.
This is genetic and epigenetic. And this is because we need to know what is going on with my microbiome right now and why a very healthy diet is not enough.
Yeah. And it starts with mama, right? I mean, this is the thing that I love about Microgenesis and what you stand for, is that the intent is to radically change lives, right? So that we have healthy mamas, healthy babies, and healthy families.
Exactly.
And
this is
the fact
our
that
goal.
It's amazing. And you're restoring fertility potential along the way. But what's so great is that you're making people feel amazing.
Exactly. Yeah,
it's really incredible.
Our mission. So thank you for bringing us the opportunity to communicate this mission.
Yes, absolutely. So before we wrap up, I want to check in with the audience if you have any questions about this. So what you need to know about the Microgenesis program is that it's a 2-part program. The first part is the testing, which is done very quickly. You do all your samples at home, a saliva sample, a vaginal swab, doesn't hurt, promise, and a blood spot, also doesn't hurt, promise. And then you send that in, and they will very quickly run all the labs for you and produce a highly sophisticated report. Then they get on the phone with you and they talk about the report. And in the report is your customized plan to heal your gut. So I love this because it's super actionable. It is, and it's doable. There are other women who've already gone through this program who we're going to work to connect you with so that you have that supportive community along the way. certainly the first 2 weeks of change is always tough, but you're not going to be on your own. And it's only 75-day treatment. So think about how long so many of us have been waiting and waiting to have our families and trying and trying and trying. This is 75 days. It's not long at all. And you have so many women who ended up getting pregnant even halfway through the program. They were such rapid healers. And one of them, I think she had struggled for like 8 years or something, right? And had no idea that her gut had anything to do with the struggle whatsoever.
Yeah.
You have absolute miracle stories. It's just awesome.
129 baby born. So we are so
129
lucky.
babies. It's amazing. Yeah, 129 babies. Naya's asking, she has PCOS, very sad. She didn't have any obvious symptoms. The only thing is the doctor found out after a transvaginal ultrasound. So you and in your cohort of patients, Gabby, you identified those who have PCOS and those who didn't, and your program worked great for some people that had PCOS, right?
Right, exactly. Actually, PCOS is very difficult to diagnose because it's a broad spectrum of PCOS.
Right.
This is because we are not the same, and we are not the same microbiome. So
Right.
we included a group of PCO, a broad spectrum of PCO patients in our study, and I can tell you that we are able to recognize at least 2 types of PCOS that is connected with gut health.
Amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you can heal the gut health, which I'm imagining then would lead to reduction of PCOS symptoms.
Yeah, exactly. And I can tell you also that those different types of PCOS are totally different, and the treatment is absolutely
totally different.
Right.
Wow. Nina, Naya, I think Nayana. That's a beautiful name. So go to microgenesis.net to take a look at that and maybe connect. I can connect you directly to Gabby if you want to have a private conversation about that. She'd be happy to discuss. But I think that that's really incredible, is starting to look at these conditions. And PCOS is so frustrating with the diagnosis because there isn't a blood test to say, yes, you have it, or no, you don't. It feels so subjective and so not clinical, just kind of like the non-diagnosis of unexplained infertility. I hate that diagnosis because it's not saying anything. It's like, oh, come on, that means, it's just not helpful, I feel like. But if you have gut imbalance, if you have leaky gut or inflammation that's detectable by the Microgenesis, then you have a diagnosis that you actually know what to do.
Actually, I can tell you that out of this group of 287 women with unexplained infertility, we recognize microbiome issues connected with the fertility potential in 80% of them. So we will decrease the number of unexplained infertile women, and this is our mission too.
That's amazing. Yes, that's so incredible. Oh my gosh. So, I want to know, show me how to phonetically spell your name, because it seems so beautiful and I feel like I'm butchering it. And you're welcome, by the way. Nayenya, I'm not sure. I feel like I'm butchering it. But, she did 3 treatments with Clomid already for 3 cycles and no luck yet. And I feel like this is just the path that we typically go down, right? We either have unexplained infertility and we go down the path of, IVF, or we self-treat. We try to do, herbs and lotions and potions and acupuncture and chiropractic care. And like, next thing you know, you open your medicine cabinet and you're like, oh my gosh, I have hundreds of bottles of stuff that I bought into is going to work, right? Or we go down the path of ART and we start adding medications to our life. And with your program, what I love so much about it, first of all, 100% of the people that you did the testing on, nobody had what you would consider to be a healthy gut.
No,
right?
8 out of 10 women that have not a healthy gut condition.
Yeah. So 8 out of 10, which is really high. And I think that just like begs, the question, how do we get this message and how do we get Microgenesis kind of everywhere? So it's the first thing that people do when they're struggling to conceive. And even before that, how do you do it when you're just thinking about, you know, attempting? It's like, check on the gut first.
Just to preserve the fertility wellness, we can do that before we are starting our fertility journey.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why I'm here, Alice. I'm here to help. I'm a mother of 3, as you know, and I really want to help. So any woman from your audience want to schedule a meeting, they can go through our website and they can schedule this meeting with me or Agus. Yeah.
Or me, you know, reach out if you want to talk to me about it. I've had such an incredible experience on the Microgenesis program and totally happy to talk to anyone privately. We're running monthly webinars too. So, you know, DM me, we'll market them in our Instagram community, of course. But I think, you know, just to kind of wrap up for those who are still hanging on here, Microgenesis has recently launched their test and their treatment solution. So the test is super easy. You do it at home, saliva kit, vaginal swab, blood spot kit. It's so quick and easy. You send that into them, they produce the report, but then they tell you exactly how you should eat and give you a custom probiotic for 75 days and custom nutraceuticals to heal what's going on in the gut. So that means healing inflammation, healing leaky gut. You're going to be going to the bathroom on a regular basis. And yes, all these things are completely connected to fertility potential. So let me know if you want to reach out. DM is fine. We can connect however you want to connect. I would just want to thank you, Gabby, again, for investing your life's work for women. First of all, I want to thank you for that. And second of all, I want to thank you for bringing it to the US. You have this strong, beautiful accent that is not based in the US. And so thank you for bringing it to the US and to the world, because now you're in 3 markets, Argentina, Spain, and the US. And I just feel so honored that I get to help bring this to our community. And I just want to help a lot of people have healthy babies. So thank you.
I am the honor to have the opportunity to speak to your audience, Alice. So thank you.
Hold up. Sorry about that. I'm back. I have do not disturb on, but somebody must have called in twice.
Okay. So thank you for this opportunity to speak to your audience. Alice, this is an honor for me too.
Thank you. All right, everybody, drop us a DM if you need to. Follow at Microgenesis on Instagram, and we will see you tomorrow for another Instagram Live. Stay well, be well, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Hi. Okay, so smaller. Oh. 94.